Alright, this is the basically the order that was given out of the court today. Bill McConnell came to court asking a whole bunch of things, and he wound up getting more than he bargained for. And so what we have here is this cause having come to be heard before this honorable court for a hearing, Zoom, on Thursday, April 30th, 2020, pursuant to the defendant Bill McConnell's written motion to modify certain pretrial conditions previously set and opposed in the above referenced case upon this court hearing argument of counsel and being otherwise fully advised of the premises. It is hereby ordered and adjudicated that the defendant Bill McConnell's written motion to modify certain pretrial release conditions previously set and imposed on March 6, 2020 in the above referenced case is hereby granted in part and denied in part. Now, let's go down here to the next. Okay, this is what was granted to Bill McConnell in the request that he made. And this was made yesterday. I'm actually doing this a little backwards because this is the most important part. It is granted as to the modification of the previously imposed bond release conditions as set forth and requested in paragraph 7, blah, blah, blah. Allow the defendant to walk and sit outside his son Cole McConnell's home in Stuart, Florida, within the property limits and fenced-in yards. The defendant shall have no interaction with anyone outside the fenced-in portion of the premises. C. Allow the defendant to travel outside his son Cole McConnell's residence by taking a car ride with his son and family to drive around the Stuart area for no more than 2 hours per ride and no more than 3 times per week. The defendant shall not be allowed to leave Martin Carey and will not exit the vehicle during those trips. The defendant shall have no interaction with anyone outside the vehicle during these trips. Also, the defendant will notify pretrial services and house arrest services at least 24 hours in advance of these car rides. It is denied as to the modification of the previously imposed bond release condition as set forth and requested in paragraph 7, so on and so forth. To motion to modify the pre-trial release conditions to reflect that the defendant may speak to his wife, Deneen, by telephone through his son Cole McConnell's cell phone with undersigned counsel Howard Sowen, continuing to coordinate and monitor the calls as a third party. The defendant may not use a desktop computer, laptop computer, tablet, even without internet access for his own personal use. It is further ordered that all previously entered conditions of release not modified by the courts by the contents of this order shall remain in full force and effect. Now, I'm doing this a little backwards, but I'm going to explain why this is important. So let's go back, and I'm going to go down to a motion that was filed on the 24th. Now, on this date, Bill McConnell Why? Okay. Okay, now we got it. Now it goes through, it says on March 11th, defendant was released from custody and basically into the custody of his son. Was released on a $100,000 monetary bond with level 1 supervised release, which is the harshest pretrial release you can get in the state of Florida. Okay. In light of the foregoing and the defendant's compliance with these extremely restrictive release conditions, the defendant, Phil McConnell, would request the courts modify and relax several of the imposed conditions as follows. Allow the defendant to speak to his wife, Denise, by telephone through his son, Cole McConnell's cell phone, without requiring undersigned counsel Howard signed to coordinate and monitor the calls as a third party. This was denied by the court. Allow the defendant to walk outside his home within the property limits and fenced-in yard. Presently, he is only allowed to exit the home under the covered patio. Allow the defendant to travel outside his son McConnell's house by taking a car ride with his son and family to drive around for no more than 2 hours per ride and no more than 3 times per week. The defendant shall not be allowed to leave Martin County and will not exit the vehicle during those trips. And the defendant will notify pretrial services 24 hours in advance. This was granted, but the added restriction was that he was not to interact with anyone while out on these drives. If somebody comes up to the car and tries to say hi to Phil, he's not allowed to talk to them, no matter who they are. Allow the defendant to use a laptop computer / solely tablet solely to write for his own personal use without in any way disseminating his writings. The laptop computer is password protected, and the defendant, as a result, will be prevented from accessing and will agree not to access the internet in any manner whatsoever. This was denied. Phil McConnell cannot use a tablet and cannot use a computer at all. If he wants to write letters, he has to get a manual data entry device which consists of a pen or pencil and a piece of paper. He's not allowed to use any electronic device whatever. So they got denied that one. The defendant would submit to these modified, and it's be allowed to exercise, get some fresh air, see the city of Stewart, and remain mentally stable. Well, I doubt that's going to work. But he got a minimum. Yeah, the guy's got a custom swimming pool in the backyard. I don't know. I don't see what the. He can swim laps. He can, do jumping jacks, do push-ups and stuff like that. He can get plenty of exercise. He doesn't need to be running around. But he got a minimum amount of stuff there. Okay, and so basically, the court denied some stuff, granted some stuff with additional restrictions. Phil McConnell basically must have thought that if he went outside and if somebody just happened to show up and say hi, that he could get around the court order. And the court said, no, not so fast. You're not going to be able to do that. And so we have a situation here. Now, something interesting happened today. Let me get out of this, and I'm going to go back over here, because I got to get something before we go too much farther. But we had a third set of documents that I found quite interesting. Now, unfortunately for some people, they don't understand that there is such a thing as discovery in the state of Florida. And we also have a thing where anything in the court documents is public information, no matter how personal it is. We found this out recently when a bankrupt and real estate broker with a alleged expired real estate license decided to do a background check on me and discovered that I had a little bit of a problem with the IRS, which this has been known about for 15 years, or 10 years anyway. So I thought it was kind of strange that this just magically showed up. But lo and behold, we get this little piece of information. This is the discovery request that was filed by the state. Let's see, this was filed on the 28th. And this is state's discovery exhibit. Comes now the state of Florida by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney, and pursuant to the provisions of the Rule 3.220 Florida Rules and Criminal Procedures in recognition of the defendant's election to participate in discovery, and submits the following information. Okay. Number one, the names and addresses of all persons presently known to the prosecutor to have information that may be relevant to any offense charged or any defense hereto are. And this is what's interesting. A. Brunel Jeffrey. So in other words, these names are backwards. So it's Jeffrey Brule. Anthony J. Seno. And we have General Timothy Holmseth. No address given yet. Colin Hops. Brian Nord. Kim Picasio. And Robert Retowski. There's a lot of 6600 University Drive, Parkland, Florida, so these are more than likely law enforcement. But it seems we have, now whoever this 1300 Broward Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale is, but, you know, that'll come about. Oh, hi, Kim. I'm going over a discovery that I found today in the court records. Surprise, surprise, interesting day. And, let's see. Now, number 2. The items and or documents described on this and the following pages are within the state's possession or control, except information concerning subparagraph E. Are available for inspection, copying, testing, and or photographing at this office upon timely and reasonable notice. A. Statements of defendant, all written, recording, and or oral statements of the documents enclosed herewith, and in dispositions and statements taken. Type. Oral and recorded, witnessed by any and all witnesses concerning, indicating any of and all statements, see reports. B. Statements of co-defendant provided if a joint trial. Well, I don't believe there's any co-defendant in this yet. tangible papers or objects obtained from or belonging to defendant, material information provided by confidential informant, electronic surveillance, including wiretapping of the premises of the defendant, or if conversations to which the defendant was a party. Search and seizure. See paragraph 3 of this submission. Reports or statements of expert, the curriculum vitae, or however you pronounce that one, and category B expert witnesses is available for inspection upon request. So on, so forth, down through State's Exhibit, State's Discovery Exhibit. Arrest, conviction records, including photographs and fingerprints. Driver's license and records, including photographs and applications. Audio tapes, videotapes of court proceedings, including first appearance, tentative sentence guidelines, jail, telephone recordings, and records. And this is fine, signed, sealed, and delivered. Now, once this goes through the hoops, just like in the Casey Anthony trial, I will be submitting a public records request for all these documents. And whatever is available to the public, I will obtain. And in future live streams, I will go over this. Can I put the description in the box? This is a PDF file that I obtained from the county. What you would do is go to the Brevard County Clerk of the Court, file a, go down through, they have what they call a case search, and the case search will come up. It'll put in the last name and the first name of the defendant, doing those CAPTCHA things, and hit search, and the case will come up. And there's two cases there. There's the original case where Kim Picasio took up the order against Field, and then the criminal case is underneath it. Kim's case is sealed, so you won't be able to get that. But this criminal case, it'll take you in there, and you scroll down, and you'll see a big index sheet with a bunch of, you'll see this stuff here. All them orange tabs are the court documents that are submitted to the court. You click on each one of those, like if I click on this this participation in Zoom, and what'll happen is it'll come up. Now in the top left hand corner, you got to look for it. There'll be a thing, let me bring this down so you can see it. But right here where my cursor is, this is known as View All Pages. Because if you don't hit that, you're only going to see the first page. So if you hit View All Pages, it'll switch over to the, you'll be able to read all 3 pages of this particular entry that was done on the 28th. And it goes down, what it does is it goes down here, and it says a motion has been granted for Field McConnell to appear on Zoom, and this is the authorization, and one was sent to, 2 were sent to the defending attorney, and 1 was sent to the state attorney. So that, basically that's how that happened. So, and what there'll be is on each one of the days, because when you get down through, you'll see it goes in order. The 30th, the 28th, the 28th, and the 27th. File defense notice of a hearing, file motion, order for the Zoom, the request to reduce bond, and then it jumps back to the 12th, which is we already know about. So, what I'll do is I'll send this link. If you try this exact link, it may come up as a bad link because they don't like you going in there without going through their system. So, but this is the link that I used. Let me see what it does. Yeah, you're not going to be able to use that link to get into the Broward County Courthouse because you're going to get a weird error message. So, yeah, he has to stay on the property. He cannot leave the property. He cannot have interaction with anybody. You know, if somebody strolls by walking their dog, he can't talk to him. He has to keep his distance. There's usually an easement anyway because of the roadway. The chances of anybody getting into C field by accident are slim to none because it's a gated community with a guarded gate. So if somebody gets in there, they would have to be invited by one of the homeowners in the subdivision. So I'm not seeing that that's going to happen anytime soon. See, normally I would have prepared this in advance, but I just didn't have time today. Now, this picture came up on Facebook, and it kind of struck me because these Zoom conferences are not generally available to the public yet. This is a brand new thing that's been done because of the coronavirus. So it was a little surprising when this thing popped up on the Facebook account of a bankrupt real estate broker with an alleged expired license. And as it turned out, when I made a phone call down to South Florida, is that this may be a violation of Phil McConnell's conditions for release. Because if either he sent this picture to someone or sent the identification for the Zoom conference to someone without proper authorization and somebody listened in on this Zoom conference, there may be a little bit of a problem. Now, one would think, well, maybe Phil had his son send this to somebody in a postcard or something, but this gets into third party. Now, if this wasn't bad enough, something else popped up on Facebook, and I've got to set this one up. But Kim showed up on the Facebook of a bankrupt real estate broker with an alleged expired license. This is what apparently is being investigated, because if unauthorized parties were monitoring the Zoom, there might be a problem, because right now the legal hurdles haven't been put into place that would allow the general public to get in on these Zoom accounts. So they're trying to figure out if unauthorized parties were in the Zoom account, and if that is the case, then there could be legal problems in store for one or more individuals, and there is a possibility that if Phil McConnell had anything to do with this, that his house arrest would be revoked and he would be placed back into the county jail, coronavirus or not. So basically what's going to happen here is there's going to have to be all sides to this issue be examined to find out how the Zoom conference wound up being in the possessions of a bankrupt real estate broker. And what else may have been out there that was disclosed that must not have been made public. But I find it interesting that Tim Homseth has been named in the court, and that would mean that at some point Tim Homseth is going to have to notify the court how he can be contacted, and that's a telephone number, address, something. And that stuff is public information, so no matter where Tim Homseth is at, fairly soon now he is going to have to notify the court where he's at. And something else came out that I found rather interesting when I made my little call down to Broward County. It seems somebody is not complying with a court order. Now, unfortunately, since this is something that is currently being dealt with, I'm not going to get into it too much, other than that there's some things out there that aren't supposed to be around that are around.